Hey everybody, it's Andrew here and welcome back to my channel. So hope you all had a good weekend. We've got a lot of updates for seniors today. We're going to talk about a huge date when it comes to government policy, what's happening with government funding, inflation, prices for seniors, the Build Back Better package, and the stimulus check obviously that Bernie Sanders is trying to get in this package, as well as just an update on daily trending news that could affect seniors as well. So let's discuss the details, but before we jump into it, as always, do me a quick favor. If you like these videos, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and share this channel with people who you think might find this helpful. This is a community for seniors, and my job here is to be a voice for you and be a voice for seniors to make sure President Biden keeps his promises to increase Social Security benefits, increase SSI and SSDI, and even approve a stimulus check for seniors in this next stimulus package. So thank you so much for supporting my work, and if you really want to support my work, consider subscribing to my second channel. The link to that is going to be in the comments of this video, and on that channel we're going to have a bingo night every Monday night, and we're also going to be giving away stimulus checks as well, and that channel should be launching next week. We're going to have an update on that pretty soon. So thanks for supporting my work, guys, and with that said, let's jump right into trending news. Then we're going to talk about what's happening with the stimulus package and February 18th, which is our latest massive deadline coming up, and that is the deadline for the government funding bill. Remember, that has massive impacts on everything, including Social Security, other things like SNAP benefits, unemployment. So it's a big date, and it's also kind of complicating things with the stimulus package because it's just another thing that has to get done. But with that said, folks, let's do a quick update on daily trending news. Now, one thing everyone's talking about is the Super Bowl. Obviously, this is the most watched thing worldwide, and I'm kind of curious to see if seniors are really into the Super Bowl, especially seniors that watch my channel. Let me know in the comments, guys. I know a lot of people don't really watch football as much these days, but with the Super Bowl being so big, let me know in the comments. Are you guys going to watch the Super Bowl? And do you guys watch more for the actual game or for the commercials? I know the commercials can be a really fun thing to watch. So also in trending news is that gas prices unfortunately might be going up once again. And this headline says that oil is on track for a 15% monthly rise as Ukraine worries persist. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but Russia is actually one of the biggest suppliers of oil and gas in the world. And with relations being pretty bad with Russia right now, this could limit the supply of gas, which would lead to increase in gas prices. And people are anticipating potentially a 15% increase in costs. Of course, this is really bad for seniors who are already paying so much money with inflation. Seniors are affected the most when it comes to medical expenses, and seniors spend a larger percentage of their money on things like gas and utilities like heating your house. So unfortunately, it looks like this inflation is going to continue to get worse in the short term, but experts agree that by the end of the year, this should hopefully go down. But in the short term, guys, hopefully you don't have to drive so much. I know a lot of seniors are retired, especially on my channel, but this is really something that's trending right now. And before we jump into the updates, one last thing in trending news. I find it really interesting to share stories from other seniors who are retired, and this woman has a pretty interesting story. She says she's 68 years old. Her husband is rich. He actually has $3 million in his estate, but he's going to leave almost all of it to his son, and she's worried that she won't have enough money to retire comfortably. Now, this article is titled, "I'm 68, my husband is terminally ill, and his $3 million estate will go to his son. I want to spend the rest of my days traveling. Will I have enough money?" And the main point of this article is really to show how important it is to understand how Social Security works and understand the fact that she could still qualify for survivor benefits, right? So although his estate is going to be left to his son, his survivor benefits will go to her. And with someone having a $3 million portfolio, there's a good chance he's receiving $2,000 or $3,000 per month from Social Security, and that will essentially be passed on to his wife. And now, whether or not you agree with him leaving the money to his son or his wife, let me know in the comments below. I know this is kind of a complicated situation. Basically, they've been married for 17 years. He's in his 70s already. So in his mind, he feels like this money should go to his son. Obviously, she might feel like she's entitled to it, but either way, she really didn't realize that she would get survivor benefits. So although she's not going to get his estate, that's something to really keep in mind, guys, that when you're married, you're going to get survivor benefits. And this is something a lot of people don't realize. So, this is why it's really important to share this information, whether it's on this channel or just calling the Social Security Administration. Make sure you understand the Social Security rules in and out. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I'll always keep you updated on things like this, like survivor benefits, widow benefits, things like this that help seniors across the board. So, guys, let's talk about the stimulus package. What's happening with negotiations? What's happening in Congress when it comes to their agenda and things that they are focusing on? Now, obviously, we all know that Joe Manchin pretty much completely pumped the brakes on that stimulus package. And now President Biden said that they're going to pass chunks of the package, essentially saying they're going to strip it down even more. And really, a lot of Democrats are pushing Biden to focus on the climate change provisions. Of course, at the same time, we have Bernie Sanders urging President Biden to focus on seniors, trying to include that stimulus check or debit card, whatever you want to call that, as well as things like Medicare expansion and lowering prescription drug costs. And if you take a look at the congressional calendar, Democrats and Republicans are coming back this week. The House and the Senate will be fully in session, and these dates in yellow show you that both chambers are in session. So starting tomorrow, Tuesday, February 1st, we're going to have both chambers, the House and the Senate, back in session, and we're expected to see a lot of progress when it comes to the Democratic agenda. So, of course, they're focusing on figuring out which chunks of this package are going to get done. We're hoping the provisions for seniors make it in there, like expanding Medicare, lowering prescription drug prices, and hopefully even that check for seniors that Bernie is trying to include. Of course, President Biden is also focusing on his Supreme Court Justice nominee. That's something they're going to have to figure out. And Fox News is taking this as an opportunity to slam Biden because President Biden made a commitment saying that his nominee will be an African American woman trying to promote diversity within the Supreme Court. And recent polls show that actually it looks like about, 76% of Americans want President Biden to consider all potential nominees without taking into account race or gender. Now, these polls can be skewed, right, depending on how you ask the question. These things can be a little bit confusing. But obviously, Fox News is using this as an opportunity to slam President Biden, saying that he should be considering everybody, despite race, without taking into account race or gender. Guys, let me know in the comments. Do you agree with Fox News? Do you think really the commitment shouldn't really be to race or gender? It should be just to consider all Supreme Court nominees. Or do you think President Biden is doing the right thing by trying to make sure he's increasing diversity in the Supreme Court? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, as far as February 18th, guys, this is the next date. This is the deadline for the government funding bill. Remember, a couple of months ago, Democrats extended government funding, which avoided a government shutdown and avoided things like potentially pausing Social Security benefits, pausing SNAP benefits, unemployment, things like that. And now this date is quickly approaching, guys. That's about 2.5 weeks away. And this is just another thing on top of everything that Democrats have to work on. They have to work on chunks of that Build Back Better package. They have to work on President Biden's Supreme Court nominee, as well as things like climate change and obviously all of these other things happening all at once. So let's take a look at this article. Legislation that would ensure funding for federal agencies for the remainder of the fiscal year is an urgent priority for congressional Democratic leaders, says House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. In detailing near-term legislative priorities, the Speaker told Democratic caucus to prepare to wrap up the fiscal 2022 government funding process. Members of Congress are tasked with advancing an appropriations bill before the February 18th deadline. Now, we've talked about it multiple times before, that if the government funding is not extended, the government will shut down. A lot of employees will be furloughed, and that means if you work for the government, like if you work for the post office, if you work for the Social Security Administration, you could be furloughed and your checks could be frozen, obviously. And one thing people disagree on is whether or not Social Security benefits will be frozen. Now, to clarify this, technically they won't be frozen, but what could end up happening is the government would be forced to sell some of the bonds from the Social Security Administration and use those bonds to pay out Social Security benefits. Now, the question is, how long would that take? And based off of all the videos we've made on this channel, we know that all of these processes take way longer than you think they would, especially when it comes to the federal government. So would it take them a few weeks or would it take them a few months? Some experts say it would take them a few months to sell these bonds, meaning that Social Security benefits could potentially miss a month of payments. And given the fact that payments are already so small, seniors don't really have a cushion. So you might be watching this video saying, well, if we miss one payment, it's not the end of the world. But a lot of people who watch my videos can't afford to miss a single payment. Even just one month of a missed Social Security payment would mean that a lot of seniors would not be able to pay their rent, put food on the table, and basic necessities like that. So this is why this date is really important. And not only that, this process of government funding also affects Social Security directly because a portion of this funding goes directly to the Social Security Administration. And one thing that President Biden wants to do is increase funding to the administration, which would allow for better customer service when you call the Social Security Administration. Now, I've called Social Security myself, and usually you end up on hold for at least an hour, sometimes 2 to 3 hours. So by providing more funding, they're going to get more customer service representatives, and they're also trying to improve their website to make things simpler and a lot easier to navigate, especially for seniors who might not be so used to using websites like that. So this has massive impacts directly on your experience with Social Security, as well as making sure that Social Security payments continue to go out. And again, this is also just one more thing on top of everything. Democrats are trying to get the stimulus package done, focusing on climate change. Bernie Sanders is focusing on helping seniors, trying to get those provisions included. We also have Democrats and Republicans coming back from this week off, and we should have both chambers back in session and potentially a lot of progress this week. On top of everything else, President Biden has to nominate a Supreme Court justice and try and get this government funding bill done as well. So there's a lot of things happening all at once, guys, and we should have a lot of updates to come. Don't forget to subscribe. I will keep you posted as things develop. Now, with the midterm elections just about 10 months away, a lot of experts are saying that Democrats should focus on Social Security benefits because not only is that something they promised, President Biden promised to increase Social Security, increase SSI, and increase SSDI, a lot of experts think it would actually be the best move to help Democrats increase their poll numbers and potentially maintain control of both chambers. Remember, right now, Democrats are expected to lose both chambers. A red wave is expected to hit, meaning that Republicans would take control of both the House and the Senate, and that would leave President Biden as a sitting duck. And, half of my viewers vote Republican, so that's, in a lot of ways, that could be a good thing. But when it comes to increasing Social Security benefits, quite honestly, it's not really a good thing because the only party that's even considering increasing benefits right now are Democrats. And even though they're not doing a great job themselves, things are taking entirely too long. Really, our only hope right now in the short term to increase benefits is really for Democrats to maintain control. So these midterm elections will have a massive impact on whether or not Social Security benefits are increased. Now, folks, I usually try and end my videos with a short clip kind of discussing what's going on in the news, specifically things that could impact Social Security benefits. And one thing people are talking about are these midterm elections and kind of what is the Democratic strategy and what's the Republican strategy. Now, we've talked about the fact that we think, especially on this channel, that Democrats should focus on increasing Social Security benefits. Not only would that help seniors the most, but with seniors being the largest voting group in this country, it could also help Democrats maintain control of both chambers. Now, on the Republican side, a lot of people are saying that really Mitch McConnell's plan is to have no policy and really just to say, we're going to stop Democrats from doing whatever they want to do. And we've been talking about this for pretty much a decade, right? Republicans, for the most part, they want small government. And Mitch McConnell has really found out that this works. Really running on nothing really means that Democrats have no ammunition to really attack Republicans. So like, for instance, when Democrats say they're going to pass stimulus, they're going to do stimulus checks for seniors, all these things, that's their agenda and that's their policy. Then Republicans come out and attack that policy saying, well, they're going to turn the United States into Venezuela, they're going to cause massive inflation. And really what the Republicans are doing is saying, you know what, we don't really have anything you can attack us on. All we're going to do is say, we're going to stop Democrats from ruining the country. And whether you agree with that or not, guys, let me know in the comments. But this strategy has really been shown to work. And in this clip, they're going to discuss the fact that, once again, this is Mitch McConnell's plan to win these midterms. So, folks, if you'd like to stick around, it's a pretty interesting clip. Let's take a look, see what they had to say. Again, don't forget to subscribe. We'll keep you updated on things that affect seniors like Social Security benefits, SSI, SSDI, what's happening with the economy, and the next stimulus package as well. So thank you so much for watching, folks. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.
Phil, this McConnell's do-nothing strategy, this is not the first time we've seen him do this. Has it worked for him in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that McConnell and his party have going for them, and people will remember that Trump had no second-term agenda when he was running in 2020, nor did the Republican Party, which basically just said whatever Trump wants to do, which was their policy platform. But it's easier for Republicans to do that because Republicans are the party that is centered on not having government do things, and so they are enabled in that by being the party that can say no, we don't want to do that, right? And so it's always easier to do nothing than it is to do something. And so Mitch McConnell understands that if he gets out ahead of this and refuses to outline any sort of policy agenda, then he can't be held accountable to it. You know, it's the same reason that a lot of people find new candidates appealing. They don't have a background that they can be judged on. If you don't put together a policy platform, if you don't say what it is you're going to do, no one's going to vote against you because of it. And because the Republican Party is so heavily focused on culture war stuff, it actually seems like it might work.
And I do want to come back to that culture wars question because that's what ends up taking up a lot of the oxygen in the room. But Juanita, before we do that, I want to ask you then, if Republicans are avowedly running on nothing, what then does that mean for Democrats and their message?
I think Democrats are going to try to come out and highlight that Republicans are running on nothing, highlight how far Republicans have gone to making fringe the mainstream, and emphasize their plan for the country because there's still a lot of work to be done. I think that Philip hit the nail on the head about accountability because that's what we do see right now, that Democrats are being getting hit with in every poll that shows low approvals for the president and every poll that recognizes that the Democrats haven't made a lot of progress on their legislative agenda. But the other thing that I think Democrats can emphasize is what the GOP has already said they will do. McCarthy and others have already gone on record saying that the next Congress, if they have control, will be about revenge with unfounded impeachment proceedings, unfounded investigations into folks like Dr. Fauci, threats to remove Democrats from committee positions, and the chaos that follows. I think that's something that Democrats can absolutely lift up to emphasize that while Democrats are working to get something done, Republicans will just create an environment of chaos and gridlock.
I mean, Juanita makes an interesting point there, which is they may not have a policy agenda that they are clear or that they are televising per se, but that is not to say that they haven't told us exactly how they plan to govern should they take back power.
That's exactly right, Alicia. And, you know, just going back to Mitch McConnell, I mean, he and my colleague Jonathan Swan and I reported this last year in November. McConnell was at a donor dinner with a lot of Republican donors, some other Republican senators, and made this clear. One donor asked him, okay, sure, you want to run against what Democrats are doing and against the Biden administration, but what about what we're going to run in? And he said, this has worked for us in the past. It's worked for us in 2014 when McConnell helped to lead Republicans back to taking the majority. And he thought it would work again. And we're seeing that. McConnell and people close to him who I've spoken with say that they think it's a distraction to outline this policy that they will run on. Instead, he thinks it's up to the 2024 presidential nominee or Republican nominee to set out that agenda. And to be honest, they're doing a good job so far. I mean, Biden's approval rating right now is sagging with inflation, the pandemic, and these are things that Democrats and Democratic strategists acknowledge as well. They're hoping they can make back some of those gains before the midterms. And so Republicans, and particularly Mitch McConnell and Republican leadership on the Senate side, think that they should just go in on all of that and continue to rail against Democrats in the areas that they've laid out, including inflation, the border, crime. Those are the things that they're just going to continue to hammer in their messaging ahead of the midterms.